Chatters, chatties, welcome home for a Great American Chat, a podcast where we chat about Great American media. I'm Chad Maurice, and today we are chatting about the Great American Pure Flix series Destination Heaven, which premiered last month on Great American Pure Flix. And I believe they release one episode a week. I believe on Fridays, I think, is when they release new episodes. There are 3 episodes that are streaming right now on the Great American Pure Flix app. And it looks like, according to this poster here, I guess there's going to be maybe 6 episodes because we see six screenshots here of some episodes on this poster. So I imagine just going to be 6 episodes. And each episode doesn't take long to watch. They're only about 30-minute episodes. The star of the series is the big man upstairs, God himself. And he is played by Harry Lennox, who is a familiar face to movies and TV. He's best known for, I think, The Blacklist. At least that's where I know him from. He also played God in a Christmas movie called For the Love of Christmas, which I haven't seen, so I'll have to check that out. And he's also has been in some of the DC comic superhero movies like Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League. Each episode has different guest stars on it. So in the episode that we're going to chat about today, the guest stars are Emily Rose and Kevin Sorbo. Now, Emily Rose, I know her from the TV show Haven, which was on the Sci-Fi Channel a few years ago, back when the Sci-Fi Channel had good programming. She's also been in a lot of Lifetime movies and has been in a lot of Hallmark movies. And she's been, I think she was in one movie that aired on Great American Family, the one about, it was a time travel movie. I forget the name of the movie where she, I forget. I'll have to look that up. I can't remember. Kevin Sorbo is also in this episode. He's best known for playing Hercules in the 90s movies and TV show. And he's also been in many Christmas movies. He's in a couple really good Christmas movies that I like. One's called The Santa Suit, where he and Santa Claus switch places. And another one, which is really good, called Christmas Angel. So if you haven't seen those, check those out. So Emily in this episode plays Jenna. I'm not sure what Jenna does for a living, but she and her husband make lots of money, and she drives an expensive Jeep. Kevin plays Daryl. He's a homeless guy who's camped outside of Jenna's office, and he's not very nice, at least not in the beginning when he first meets her. He's a little cold to her. So this episode title is called Home is Where, and the episode opens with Jenna arriving at work and getting out of her expensive Jeep. Her assistant gives her lunch to eat. She closes her eyes to say grace. When she opens her eyes, she is sitting in what looks like a high school shop class, and there are empty picture frames everywhere. Sitting at one of the tables is God, and she says, "What's going on? Am I dreaming?" God says, "No, I just wanted to get your attention." He says, "I could have gone with a burning bush or put you in the belly of a fish, but those things seem so Last Testament." That was funny. That was a good line. I like that one. She asks, "What is this, your workshop?" He says, "Who do I look like, Santa Claus?" Another funny line. I like this scene. He asks her to pick out a frame for this picture that he has in his hand. He puts the picture in the frame and says, "Fits perfect." He shows her the picture and asks if she knows the guy. She says no. He's like, "Oh, I thought you might. Let me try a different picture." He asks her to get another frame. He says, "Any size you want." He tells her he appreciates all the money she donates to charitable organizations and asks if she ever takes the time to get to know the faces behind the people she helps. He puts the new picture that she just handed him inside the picture frame that she chose and says, "Look at that, perfect fit." He shows her the picture and she says, "That's the same guy. Am I supposed to know him?" God says, "Maybe you can figure that out." Then he sends her back to eat her lunch. Now, what's interesting about this scene is the symbolism in it. Because no matter what size frame she gave him, he made the picture fit. And I took this to mean that no matter what demand we ask of God, he will make it work. I don't know if that's what the writer's intent was in this scene, but that was kind of the message that I got from this scene, and I like it. Let me get the chat up here. There we go. While Jenna is leaving her office, she meets this homeless guy who's living across the street, and it is the guy in the picture that God showed her. He says, or she says, "Hey, I know you." He says, "You do? I don't know you." He asks her for money, and she gives him everything that she has in her wallet. Then he asks for her coat. She says it won't fit you. So she goes to her Jeep and gets her husband's coat and gives it to him. And he doesn't even say thank you. Not a word. It's like he expected her to do that. Jenna's husband gets upset because she gave his coat to Daryl. She says it felt like the right thing to do. I saw someone with a need, so I fulfilled that need, like the Bible says we should. He eventually calms down. He says, "You were being generous. Okay, that's good. But next time, don't be so generous with my clothes." Next day, she stops by to see Daryl again. He asks if he can have her coffee, so she gives it to him. She says it has oat milk and sugar in it. He says, "Make it black next time," and then walks away. And then again, he doesn't even say thank you to her. Like I said before, he's not too nice. You'd think he'd be grateful for the coffee and coat that she gave him. Jenna goes to eat lunch again, bows her head to say grace, and God shows up again. This time he shows her a picture of her family having dinner. He says, "There's someone else that could be sitting at that table with you." She says, "Oh no." Then we see Daryl having dinner with her and her family. Jenna's husband asks Daryl why he doesn't stay at the shelter. He says there aren't enough beds and it's understaffed. Her husband says to Jenna, "Maybe we should volunteer sometime at the shelter." Oh, her husband's warming up to Daryl. Jenna's son suggests that she give Daryl a job. She says, "Okay." She tells Daryl, "Why don't you fix the fence outside and paint it?" She says, "If you get here before 8 a.m., I'll make you coffee. Black, just like you like it." He jokes around and says, "How about I just sleep here tonight and make all of you breakfast in the morning?" They all laugh, but I don't think he was joking. I think that he would have taken them up on that offer had they offered him a room. Next day, Jenna comes home for lunch and finds out that Daryl has no idea how to build stuff and he can't fix her fence. She asks, "Why didn't you just tell me that you didn't know how to do this?" He says, "Because I didn't want to turn down a job and I didn't want to seem ungrateful." She asks, "What did you do before you fell on hard times?" He says, "I was a photographer and some of my stuff was hung in galleries." Ah, now she realizes why God has always been surrounded by pictures and empty frames when she talked with him. This is why, because Daryl used to be a photographer. Jenna makes a phone call to get Daryl a job in photography. She goes to his place to tell him, but he isn't there. Some woman is setting up shop where he was. And she tells Jenna that Daryl is gone. Jenna goes and talks with God again. She wants to know where Daryl is and if he is all right. She also wants to know if she made a difference in his life. God tells her, the things you did for Daryl made a difference in your life, Jenna. He says when Christ returns, he will separate people on his right and on his left. He will have no concern for the people on his left, but you will be on his right, and you will inherit the kingdom. That was a nice scene there. Jenna leaves her office and goes to talk to the homeless woman who took Daryl's place. She tells her it's going to be a cold night, so she gives this woman her coat. Jenna says, hey, look at that. It looks better on you than it did on me. And the woman says, you just have to know how to wear it. Another funny line there. Then Jenna sits down and strikes up a conversation with her to get to know her. And that's the end of the episode. Like I say, these go by pretty quick. They're only 30 minutes long. Actually, less than 30 minutes when you cut out the credits. So this was a nice ending. It was an emotional ending, and I liked it. And I thought for a minute, let me get that up there. I thought for a minute, oh, wait, who or what was Daryl? I thought, was he a figment of her imagination? But then I thought, no, because other people saw him, her husband and her kids, and this woman, Irene here, saw him. So he had to have been a real person. But I thought it was weird that he just left without saying goodbye to her. And then I thought, well, did he die? Or did he just pack up his stuff and leave? We don't know, because the episode doesn't tell us. So I'm not sure what happened to Daryl. So you got to check out this show if you haven't yet. This episode starts off slow, because when I first started watching it, first few minutes, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about this show. But it picked up in the middle, and it has a good emotional ending. So when you go to watch it, give it some time. Like I said, it builds up. The episode has humor in it. God has a couple funny lines, and Irene there at the end, that homeless woman, had a funny line. So I appreciated the humor. And the episode has a good message for sure. It makes you think about your life. In this episode, Jenna and her husband have a lot of money, and they donate money to charities. But God wants her to get to know the people that she donates to on a personal level. He wants her to make a difference in someone's life with more than just money, to get to know someone who is struggling on a more personal level. He wants her to know what it feels like to invite someone into her home and into her life, and to make them feel welcome and needed and wanted. God is helping Jenna realize that everyone is important, no matter who they are. And this episode makes you think. It does. It makes you think about how there's many people in the world who feel like they don't have anyone and no one cares about them. And it makes you realize that it's important to reach out to those people if you know someone who feels that way, and let them know that they do matter. So this episode, like I said, I got emotional at the end of it. I really liked the ending, and I liked all the messages throughout the episode. So if you haven't seen the series yet, check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing the second episode and the third episode. They're both up streaming right now. Now the second episode has another familiar face in it, Doug Jones, who was in those Hocus Pocus movies. So I'm looking forward to see what he brings to this series. And the second episode we will chat about next week. So that's it for now. Until then, you keep the faith, keep smiling, keep your friends close, and keep your great American family closer.